Hello, welcome back to Oolykee Gaming and welcome back to another episode of Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic, and today I give you the Everything mod. Right, disclaimer, this is one of the mods I use. This is not something I support. I definitely love it, I enjoy it, but this is not support for the mod. This is just a mod spotlight, so you guys can know and enjoy the game a little bit more. A lot of you asked me questions about this mod, and this is one of the hardest mods to find. Even if you ask me, hey, where did you get that? Where did you get this? It's from this mod. And I will say a couple of more disclaimers. I fully support this. Is absolutely amazing and work was really detailed. If there are any issues, please don't contact me or contact the mod maker, because he has a unique style of making buildings and unique set of skills. Right, so this is two mods actually. There are two mods, all in all 55 I think buildings. I tried to count them like 3 times, but after 24 I get lost. I'm of course kidding, but still doesn't change the fact that this is a huge mod. Okay, so what is this? This is something you probably came upon not recently, it's quite old mod. It's from 2019, end of 2019. This is a Socialist Construction Part 1 and Socialist Construction Part 2. These are two mods made by Mr. Mauser NATO. He has a little bit, I'm gonna be a little bit critical, but nothing personal. He has a really bad way of expressing what he actually made. He just put this out there and that's it. He made it and it's out there. A lot of people trying to search for some of the mods here can't find it. You have to be subscribed to this mod in order to have access to all of this. And what's in the mod? Who knows? Take a guess. It's like a Wheel of Fortune. It's actually 55 buildings. I'm gonna give you and show you most of them. I will compare some of them to vanilla ones, and we can start from there. So let's get cracking. So, right, this mod consists of everything, including residential buildings. All of them you can see here, even these guys here, prefab buildings up to 160 people. Then you have kindergartens here. I'm gonna speak about unique style Mr. Mauser NATO has in constructing these buildings. They look run down, which is, some people are critical to his style because you're building a new building and it's run down. I understand the criticism, but I also understand and love his style. It's unique, and let people do whatever they want in their free time, but this is absolutely amazing. It gives you a couple of really nice mods, really nice models, and unique buildings that are not covered in the base game, in vanilla game, and up until now some of them haven't been covered with any other mods. There are those in-between buildings that everybody needs from time to time. So you have a couple of hospitals here. If you want to check them out, you're gonna have to check them out on your own. We can't go into every single mod. It will be a really long episode. You have warehouses, meat storages, 250-ton capacity. You have food factories with 14-ton capacity. You have electronics assembly halls that look quite like something I have in my neck of the woods. I had in my neck of the woods. We have another warehouse here. We have chemical plants with 8.4-ton productivity, and we're gonna try to compare this with another chemical plant that with a vanilla chemical plant. So we're gonna see productivity, and I can show you the construction materials needed for this, but I'm pretty sure it's more expensive than the ones that actually chemical plant. I won't compare it because we don't have it unlocked now. But I can turn on the cheat mode, but I won't in this case. So 8.4 tons of chemicals can be produced here. It's 8.4 tons of gravel, 8.4 tons of crops, 8.4 tons of oil, and 13 tons of wood in order to produce this. Moving on, we have the warehouse. Again, we have a grocery store with only food and meat in there to sold. We have a small shopping center. You have multiple more apartment buildings with different sizes processing capacities. They're quite bulky, they have a big foundation, so heads up on that. Of course, basin or the pool, I believe that would be. Basin would be, I'm not sure in Russian, but in the Balkans we would call it basin, so it would be pools in this case. You would have a couple of barracks. This is something that I like to use in construction when expanding to new towns, you know, as for first workers who live in the newly growing town. Of course, you have a town hall. I used multiple towns as well. It's also a counting office, but it's the same thing. You have schools. You have smaller schools. You have these kiosks here for selling, well, beer and you know what else is there. So usually they use for alcohol. Here you can buy meat and food. You have the bazaar here, or kiosk bazaar. It's a small shopping district which can be supplied with everything you need because it has 4 parking spaces here. You can have trucks directly parked here while they're selling stuff, which would be quite realistic in real life where we have, you know, those big trucks parked next to those kiosks. We have another warehouse. We have a couple of long and big apartments with 210 people living in each of one of them. We have a warehouse again, and we have a cinema. Again, the unique style of Mr. Mauser NATO. You either love it or hate it, but you definitely have opinion on this. Then, this is the buildings that everybody was asking me about. I wasn't even aware where I got this because when I was searching for it, I couldn't find it, and it's really hard to find. I went through all of my hundreds and hundreds of mods until I found this in one of the photos, and then I realized that this is actually from Mr. Mauser NATO, these silos. Of course, he has another big one here that is connected with the railroads, which is, in my book, probably a little bit more realistic one, but again, unique style of Mr. Mauser. Then we have a mechanical component factory. We have the steel mill, which you're going to be seeing in our series as well. And for last 3 buildings, something that I have been using a lot, that would be the small coal power plant. And of course, we have warehouse here and electrical components factory. Okay, let's do some comparison. Okay, so let's get started. This is going to be a comparison in construction materials regarding the steel mills from both of these bad boys over here. You can see the steel mill in the modded one and the vanilla one. Now, comparable resources required to be constructed: 163 tons of concrete. The vanilla has 3 times more, I believe. And then you have same amount of gravel. The requirement for this one requires more boards, so modded one requires 2.5 times less steel. It doesn't require mechanical components, take that as you wish. It does require similar amount of bricks and similar amount of asphalt, so it has some extra materials, steel and this kind of stuff. It would be, I would say, like 2.5 times the size difference with mechanical components missing altogether. What about productivity? So we have a steel mill finished already, so we have a steel mill over here, and vanilla steel mill would be over here, so we can compare both of those stats. As you can see, on the left hand side you have 43 tons of steel productivity, and on the right hand side steel mill it has 24 ton productivity. Requirement for resources, they seem to be in order. You do need twice as much coal than you need in vanilla one. In vanilla one, well, not this vanilla one, twice as much coal as you need iron, while in vanilla one it's not twice, but let's say 80 to 90% more coal than you need iron in order to produce this steel. The productivity is quite high compared to the size, and the storage capacity, it seems reasonable, around 2/3 from vanilla one, so it is somewhere in between size-wise. It doesn't require some of the materials, and in order, if you want to build it straight away, it's definitely much cheaper. It's just under 100,000 rubles, while vanilla one is close to 250,000 rubles, so 2.5 times more expensive. Take that as you wish. Moving on, we have food factories on the left hand side and right hand side. Food factories, they do have much less. Vanilla one has much longer construction period. Resource wise, the modded one requires 22 tons of concrete, while this one requires 7.4. All in all the materials that I can see except the boards and the bricks and the steel is much more on the side of vanilla, so vanilla one is much more expensive. I believe vanilla might have a little bit bigger productivity as well, but let's check this out. So right, on the left hand side we have productivity of vanilla building. It's 20 tons compared to 14 tons, and the requirement for food in the modded one for crops is much higher. So you have almost just over twice the amount of, or just under half of the food you get from 42 tons of crops. You get 20 tons of food, while for the same amount of crops you get up to 50% or 2/3 of the food. So for 41 tons of crops you get only 14 tons of food. So productivity of this food plant is much lower, and consumption is lower, and consumption of crops is much higher. Moving to fabrics, you can see that the one on the left hand side, you can see it on the bottom of the screen, is extremely large. It's really big fabric factory. It does require a little bit less asphalt. It requires up to 8 times more work days to be finished. It requires staggeringly 9 times more concrete, up to 581 tons of concrete. Mechanical components, on the other hand, here are extraordinary. You require more than 20 times. Is that correct? Am I correct here? Yeah, it could be up to 20 times more mechanical components. And steel is 18 times more. You need 284 tons of steel, 148 tons of bricks. You do require 13 tons of electrical components. That's a lot. Now, finishing this modded factory will require you to pay 336,000 rubles, while the vanilla one is only less than 1/10 of that price. Okay, let's compare the productivity of these plants. So fabric one is on the left hand side. The vanilla one is on the left hand side, 5 tons of fabric per day, while the fabric factory, the modded one, produces just under 20 times more. It's 92 tons of fabric. The vanilla one requires half a ton of chemicals and 20 tons of crops, while the modded one requires 322 tons of crops and 11 tons of chemicals. So that would be over 20 times more chemicals, and that would be just under 20 times more crops. So it's much more expensive to produce crops with this modded one, and of course construction price is much higher. Let's move on. And the last comparison we're gonna have is the power plant production. Obviously this power plant on the left hand side is the modded one. Of course it's smaller than the big one, and you can see the comparison in production. So you have 1,569, just under 1,600 work days to finish the modded one, and over 7,500 work days to finish vanilla one. Concrete, of course, is over 10 times more in vanilla one. Gravel, it's not really relevant, but it's 3 times more. Asphalt is around 10 times more. Steel, on the other hand, is only 3 times more in the vanilla one compared to the modded one. And then mechanical components is just under 4 times more for the vanilla one. So vanilla one is obviously more expensive, 241,000 rubles, while 66,000 rubles for modded one. How do they compare with productivity? So we have our modded power plant over here, and we're gonna compare it to the vanilla one. If you go to energy related buildings, if we can go to our power plant, it creates 1,400 megawatts of power using 24 tons of coal. On the other hand, we have the modded power plant, which produces 360 megawatts of power using half the amount of coal. So that means it produces up to 4 times less electricity for half of the coal. So coal produced from this power plant is much more expensive than the one that the electricity you produce from this power plant is much more expensive than the one you get from vanilla building. But there you go, you take this with a pinch of salt, check all the mods out, all the buildings out. What's the final verdict? I think this mod gives you something different. It doesn't give you shiny buildings, but it gives you intermediate or higher or lower, something to make your game a little bit more balanced. Some of the buildings are quite expensive, some of them are smaller but still quite expensive for its size, but it gives you options. I love this mode. I haven't used half of the buildings in this mod because maybe I deemed them too expensive to use, but definitely I'm gonna keep closer eye on this, and because it just gives you new segment of the game where something is a little bit more expensive, but it might be something that you just need. For example, this pool over here that we have. Anyway, look, this is my opinion. I hope you like it. If you did, press the like button. If you didn't, leave a nasty comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, notification bell, ring it. Comment section, hit it. If you want to support the channel, you have description of the video. Guys, happy, what's the day? Tuesday. Have a nice one and see you in the next one. Bye bye.